Five-star Braylon Mullins has set his commitment date, but will he choose Indiana?
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Gards. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, thank you so much for being here. Shout out to all of my everydayers for coming each and every day, Monday through Friday, and supporting this show, whether you're on audio or whether you are on the video side on YouTube. Reminder, we are a free show to you every single day, Monday through Friday. So thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the show, however you do that, and thank you for coming to Locked On Hoosiers. Well, it's official. We now know when Braylon Mullins, the five-star shooting guard, one of the most sought-after recruits in the country, we now know when he will be committing to either Indiana, UConn, or North Carolina. It's official. He will be committing on Wednesday, October 23rd. That's just over 2 weeks when this episode comes out. 2 weeks and a day. And so, as a lot of people have said, it's going to be a long 2 weeks, man. Going to be a long 2 weeks because there are three fan bases right now that are sitting on the edge of their seat who have been following this recruitment for quite some time. And I think all three fan bases feel really good about where they stand with Braylon Mullins. And I have to go back, and I've highlighted this before, but I want to do it again because I want to highlight the growth of Braylon Mullins, and not just physical stature or recruiting rankings or popularity or whatever. I'm talking all of that combined, okay? This was a kid who was, he was a top 100 player, but he was down in the 90s of recruiting rankings, and Indiana knew who he was. Indiana knew who he was quite often, quite early, because of him being an Indiana kid, right? And other programs kind of had an idea. Some of those smaller schools, they were checking him out. They knew who he was. UConn didn't know who Braylon Mullins was a year ago. They didn't. They didn't know. They didn't care. And now they do, because Braylon went from the 90s to the 50s. We were like, how about that? Then he went to the 30s, and everybody was like, oh, snap. Here he comes. And then, boom, all of a sudden, now he's a top 15 player in the country. And UConn jumps in on him, and they've done a heck of a job. They've done a fantastic job there at UConn. Dan Hurley has everything that you could want. He's got the proof. He's got the rings. He's got the money. UConn has everything that you would want if you are a high school recruit. And that's what Indiana is currently battling with right now, is the fact that Dan Hurley has the proof on film of the type of offense that they run that would fit Braylon Mullins' game. And he also has the list of guys that he's put into the NBA that play in that system just like Braylon. And it helps when you can stick your hand up and there's a couple shiny things sitting on there too. So that's what Indiana's having to go up against. And man, that's hard. That's really, really hard to do. What Indiana's trying to do is say, that's great. We're not going to deny that because you physically can't. But what we're telling you, Braylon, is we're changing our offense to look like that. We're doing what we need to do to build this offense around you. And we believe we can get those fancy rings, and you can be a part of that. And you can do it for your hometown school, for your state school right up the road from your family, who can come and see you anytime they want to, rather than having to go to UConn where, you got to fly into Boston or something and drive over there. Nobody wants to do that. And it's UConn. Come on, right? No hate to UConn. I'm just saying. So that's what Indiana's trying to sell right now. North Carolina, I don't know. I don't know what they're selling. Come and be the dude, I guess. Come and play for a blue blood program. But here we are. We're battling with 2 other blue blood programs, right? If you're North Carolina, you're thinking, man, what the heck do we have to do to get these dudes to go away, to get these programs out of here? And I truly feel, just between you and me, I feel it's down to UConn and Indiana. I don't think North Carolina will be a threat by the end of this thing. I know we got 2 weeks, but that's just how I feel. I think it is truly down to us in Bloomington and then the Huskies and UConn. And I think it's a coin flip. I really do. I think right now, 2 weeks, just a little over 2 weeks out, I still think that it's up in the air. Now, he will have a decision made on October 23rd, and stay tuned for that. We're going to have something special for you here on the show, so be sure you're around for that on October 23rd. He's going to be doing it live on the 24/7 Sports channel, which a lot of kids do that. It's cool that they do that. Number 16 overall player, 6'5", from Indiana, shooting guard, everything you could want out of a basketball player, and he's going to commit on October 23rd. At appears to be 6 o'clock Eastern time. And I know there's so many of you, man. I know there's so many of you who you're nervous. You're nervous about this. And you know what? Rightfully so. Rightfully so, because you're just sitting here saying to yourself, man, this would be great if we could get him, but are we going to be left in the dark again? Are we going to be shut out in the cold once again on another big-time, high-level basketball recruit? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. I think it's 50-50. Here's the good news, though. If it does happen, man, great things are going to come from this. You're going to have Mullins and Sisley together again. It's going to lead to other guys committing. I promise you that. That's what Mullins brings. Not only does he bring his stature, his rankings, and his skill set, he brings the momentum with him. And I think that is what Indiana needs. Remember that domino effect I keep talking about? That's what Indiana's trying to build here. And Braylon Mullins could bring you that. Yeah, we want his skills on the basketball floor. Ain't no doubt about that. Okay? No doubt about it. But the domino effect that he could bring would be unbelievable too. And you do that, other guys will come. You get Braylon Mullins, you get at least 2 more. That's how I feel. I think you get at least 2 more recruits after Braylon if he decides to pick the Indiana Hoosiers. We're going to find out Wednesday, October 23rd. 5-star shooting guard Braylon Mullins will make his college decision, but will he choose Indiana, UConn, or North Carolina? We're all going to find out together. And a reminder, we're going to have something special for you here on Locked On Hoosiers, regardless of where he goes. So we're going to have something for you here on the channel. So be sure that you are here. Make sure you're an everydayer. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on that. We're going to find out October 23rd where Braylon Mullins will commit. All right, coming up on Locked On Hoosiers, going to take a little dive into Malik Reneau, a guy that just don't feel like we've talked about a whole lot here lately. What did he do last year? What can he do this year? He's a junior. He's one of the older guys on this team, which is kind of crazy to say. How can he be even better than he was a year ago in what is supposed to be a new look offense for Indiana? We'll talk about Malik Reneau when we come back here on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode is brought to you by Roy. It's time for our Roy Player of the Week. Locked On Hoosiers fans, the Roy app lets you directly support your favorite athletes. Unlike collectives where you make a donation to a general fund, Roy lets you choose the specific athlete you want to support. You back the players you care about, and in return, get exclusive content after the season, like personal videos and updates. And the best part? It's risk-free. If the athlete transfers or doesn't create the content, you get your money back. This week, for my Roy Player of the Week, I have chose Justice Ellison, okay? 14 carries for Indiana football, 68 yards, and got one of the rushing touchdowns. Justice Ellison, great running back, led the team in yards on Saturday, helped the Hoosiers get a 41-24 win. I pick Justice Ellison to contribute $100. I just did it. Just contribute $100 to his campaign on Roy, and want you to join me by making a payment of as little as $10. When enough of us contribute, it's not just about the dollars. It's about the message we send to guys like Justice Ellison together. Our collective support helps keep him connected to our school. Plus, Roy is doing their part by bringing fans closer to their schools and athletes with an exciting giveaway. Roy is giving one lucky fan 2 tickets to any game of their choice in November. There's big games in November. Here's how to enter. Just download Roy in the App Store or Google Play. Use code LOCKEDON when you sign up, and you're entered. It's that easy. Are you already on Roy? Make a payment to any athlete's campaign, and you'll also be automatically entered. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Go to joinroy.com for official rules. Download Roy and try it out. There's no subscription, no recurring fees, and for as little as $10, you can get in the NIL game. Roy, support the players and change the game. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you so much for being here again. Shout out to all of my everydayers because we're growing over here, and our subscriber count is growing too, which tells me the everydayers are growing. We passed? I don't know. We are past 3,100 subscribers on YouTube already, ladies and gentlemen. We are absolutely crushing it here on Locked On Hoosiers. So be sure, if you're not subscribed already, do that for me, okay? Like this video, first of all. That shares it to the world, lets more people see it. It grows the channel instantly just by you liking the video. Also, comment down below if you're on YouTube. Plain and simple. Do we get Braylon Mullins? That's what I need to know from you right now. Do we land Braylon Mullins? And then subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You see our Locked On Hoosiers logo just to the right of that? Hit that subscribe button for me. Tells you want to be here, you're an everydayer, and that you like the content. Now we're on our way to 3,200, but I feel we can get there pretty quickly. So thank you all for doing all of that. Thank you to my audio listeners as well for listening there. Follow us there. Turn on notifications because that audience is growing too. So be sure that you do that over there as well. Well, I want to talk a little about Malik Reneau, a guy that, as I mentioned, feel like we haven't really talked about a whole lot recently. And with all the changes and all the transfers and even some of the younger guys on this Indiana team coming up this year, Malik has sort of gotten lost in the shuffle. And by no means do I want that to happen, because let's not forget, Malik Reneau was the second best player on the team last year. Khalil Ware was one. Malik Reneau was right there behind him. And so you start looking and thinking about what the Hoosiers are going to try and do this year, because I don't think it's any secret. I think we all have pretty high expectations for this Indiana basketball team this year, and rightfully so. You bring in a number 1 transfer portal class. You do bring in a really high talented freshman. You're hopefully getting a high talented freshman back off of injury, and you still return some really key pieces from a year ago. Indiana has no excuse to not be a good basketball team, and we are not in the wrong, Hoosiers fans, for setting the bar high. But if we are to reach whatever that expectation is for you, national championship, Elite 8, Sweet 16, or just flat out make the tournament, whatever that may be, Malik Reneau will be a huge part of that. And here's just a reminder, okay, on what he did from last year. 15 points a game. We know he averaged a lot of fouls per game. He averaged half a block per game, almost 3 assists, 6 rebounds, okay? Didn't shoot the free throws well, 68%. 3-pointers, believe it or not, if you remember, he started knocking some of those down. He shot 33% from out there. Just saying. Just saying. Didn't shoot a ton of them, but he did knock some of them down. And his field goal percentage was 56% when he started every single game, playing almost 29 minutes a game. So 15 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. Great numbers for a go-to number 4 guy. 4, the power forward on the floor. And we understand that he was put in some situations at times where Khalil Ware, if he was dealing with fouls or injuries or whatever the case may be. And it's no secret, as I mentioned, when he struggled with fouls, he watched a lot of the game from the bench. And Indiana really struggled when that happened. And so in what is supposed to be a new look offense, right? What does that do for a guy like Malik Reneau? Because, I mean, at 6'9", 232, we understand he can run, but I don't know if he can keep up with some of these guards that we've brought in, which is not the end of the world. I really am curious to see how he fits in. And Umar Ballo, too. He's a big boy now. These are really big guys. And if Indiana does get into a situation where we do start running up and down the floor and pushing it on fast breaks, off of misses, heck, even pushing it off of makes, I love when teams do that. You see that in the NBA quite a bit, and I would love to see that more in college basketball, frankly. I'm not going to say concerned, but I'm curious with a possible caution, if that makes sense, on Malik Reneau being lost a little bit and not being as effective as he was a year ago. And I think we all have to remember this too. We don't need him to be as effective as he was last year because we have other scoring options. That was the problem last year. It was, all right, how much can Khalil Ware and Malik Reneau score? Can they score 50 combined? All right, well, then maybe we got a chance because ain't nobody else going to help us out. Nobody else is going to score. Oh, if Mbako gets double digits, oh, well, we may have a chance to score 70 points. That should not be the case this year. And if that is the case this year, we're doomed. We're done. That's all I can say. Because you bring in so many good players and so many guards that you don't have to do that this year. You should be getting 25, 30 points out of your guards every single night. Man, that's 25, 30 points we didn't get a year ago. We didn't get that last year. So while it was great to see Malik go 15, 6, and 3 and shoot 56% from the floor, he won't have the demand on him this year. And as I've talked about with Trey Galloway, I think that can help Malik Reneau. I really, really do. Because we heard going into last year how that summer he just worked on his body and worked on himself. We're hearing the same exact thing again this year, telling the team, hold me accountable, make me better. And I love that from him because I believe he does want to be better. I believe he wants to be that dude. And if he becomes that dude, Indiana's going to be a really, really good basketball team, like a really good team. And if he can pair well with Umar Ballo, which, I mean, he did with Khalil Ware, so I don't see why they wouldn't, with better guard play and more shooters on the floor for him to be even an assist man as well, man, Malik Reneau is going to be a lot of fun to watch this year. And he will be a huge part of the success for this team offensively and, of course, on defense. He's got to bring that defensive energy. And I think I'll just be honest, I think he needs to be a little tougher on that end of the floor. I really, really do, because he's going to go up against some big dudes this year. And you've got to remember, he may have to play a little 5. If Umar Ballo gets in any sort of injury problem, foul problems, or energy, right? I mean, he's got to rest, right? I say he's a big kid now. Malik's going to have to play some serious minutes, and we have to be able to take that off of him when we have to put him in that position. We have to be able to go other places, but defensively, he's got to hold his own, man. He really, really does. And I think he did a year ago, but I want to see him take that next step, if that makes any sense. And if he can put all of that together offensively and defensively, and if he can average just the same, do the exact same thing. I know he wants to see better, and I'm sure the coaches do too, but we don't have to have that. If we didn't bring in Miles Rice, Cannon Carlisle, Luke Goody, all these jokers, if we didn't bring any of these guys in, and Mackenzie Mbako had left, and Umar Ballo wasn't there, like, dude, we'd be in a world of hurt. And I'd say, yeah, Malik's got to average 25. He's got to average 25, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists, and even that may not be enough. But that's not what I'm saying here. That's not the case at all. That's a horrible spot to be in, and we're not anywhere close to that. So that's what's exciting. Malik Reneau can just come in and be whatever type of player he wants to be. We can use him as little or as much as we want. We've seen the runs he goes on by himself. He's just that good of a player down low. I want to see him move out a little bit. If he can start knocking down a 15-foot jumper, man, watch out. Malik Reneau is going to be a hell of a player. And if he can start shooting threes, 33% is all you need. That's all you need to get the respect of the defense. If all those things happen, you better watch out. Malik Reneau will be an underrated. Here, listen to me right now. Malik Reneau will be an underrated performer on this Indiana basketball team. He will be overlooked and underrated, but a huge portion of the success for Indiana basketball in 2024 and 2025. Well, coming up on our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, a little bit of football news. We are on national TV in the spotlight where the whole country can see us for Indiana football coming up next week. Yes, it's the bye week, but we got news for the Nebraska game. We'll talk about that in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get the hunch in the middle of the game, as I always do, you can check out the latest stats, view play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. How about that? You can get on one site and do it all. Check scores, stats, storylines, and then after all of that, you can place your bets. Did you get in on the Chiefs last night? Did you get in on them winning 26-13? What a disgusting game that was. Saints started out great this season, and they've just fallen flat. And, of course, Patrick Mahomes wins again. But, you know, that's just how it goes. Thursday Night Football this week is the 49ers and the Seahawks. How about that? So be sure, if you want to jump in on that, you can use FanDuel.com, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. So if you want to jump in on Thursday Night Football, place $5, and they're going to give you $200 for your first time. That's FanDuel.com today to get started. Final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you for being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. We are full-time football, basketball, recruiting, everything going on around the Hoosiers right now. And if you're looking for your second listen, your second watch every day, I tell you this all the time, go check out Locked On College Basketball, okay? Isaac and Andy do a wonderful job. They cover all the biggest storylines. They're talking recruiting too. Don't you worry. They're talking recruiting and getting you ready for the 2024 and 2025 season. So go check them out, Locked On College Basketball, and tell them that Jacob sent you from Locked On Hoosiers. Well, some great news about Indiana football. We know that it's the bye week. We know we got a big game coming up next week against Nebraska, who's also on a bye this week as well. And we kind of hinted at this yesterday that there was a possibility that this could be national TV, big time game, all the hype, all the spotlight. Well, we asked for it and we got it. Big noon kickoff on Fox. Yes, the pregame show on Fox, the one that competes with ESPN and SEC Network, all the other TV shows, right? Big noon kickoff. They're coming to Bloomington. They are coming to Indiana, and they will set up for the Indiana and Nebraska game. That's October 19th. That is next Saturday. They'll be set up right here. Will be the first game right there. Big new kickoff on Fox. And that's their big time game. That's their prime time spot. Okay. This is not I know in the past, way back when, 11 a.m. games were like, ooh, 11 a.m. Yeah, nobody cares about that. That's not the case anymore. Look across the board. Look at Fox, NBC, and ESPN/ABC. They have made the 11 a.m. kickoff one of their prime spots, and big new kickoff on Fox is the reason for that, because Fox did such a good job and they were crushing in the numbers and the ratings. ESPN was like, oh crap, we need to make that our primetime spot too. So that's exactly what they did. And, you know, they a lot of times like to go to a Big Ten school, right? Fox enjoys doing that. They play the games on Fox majority of the time. And I want you to realize there are really, really good games going on next week in the Big Ten. I mean, you have quite a few options that they could have gone to. and they chose the undefeated Hoosiers when Nebraska, who's 5-1, comes to town. Listen to some of these games going on next week. You've got Michigan, Illinois. That as of now, that's a top 25 game. You have USC, Maryland. You have Iowa, Michigan State. You have, well, that game, Oregon and Purdue play on a Friday night. They've gotten into that trend a little bit. UCLA, Rutgers. I think that could be interesting. But they said, nope, we're coming to Bloomington. And look, this is our first real chance on the big stage to show that we're not a fraud, to show that we are a legitimate team. And I do want to make this statement. And I know we've got, a week and a half until this game. Even if we don't win this game, it doesn't mean everything is a wash. It doesn't mean everything's a waste. It doesn't mean that everything is over, doom and gloom, the world's coming to an end. That's not what that means at all. It means we probably got humbled a little bit. I think we're the better team, and I think we can absolutely win this game. Not going to make a prediction this far out, but this is a big deal. This is a big deal, and that's what this segment's about. It's not really about the game right now. We got time on that. This is about the fact that Indiana 6-0, we're the talk of college football, and big noon kickoff. The Fox pregame show is going to be in Bloomington. What that tells you is you need to be there. You need to be out there on TV, in the stadium, and supporting this program. They've done exactly what you asked them to do. They've played hard, they've performed well, and they've gotten results early. Nobody predicted this. Nobody. Not even me. Not even me. 6-0. You've got national TV coming. This is a huge deal for us, man. And I think this is the start of something really special. I've got you in my comments right now saying great things about Indiana football, and I love it. I absolutely love that we have the ability to talk about this team and this program in good ways and highlight them and pick them for players of the week and talk about how Coach Sig could be the best coach in the Big Ten and how Kurtis Rourke's getting a ton of love. Watch out for that tomorrow. We'll have an episode talking about him. Man, great things are happening around this program. And I told you it was going to happen. I said Curt Cignetti is the dude to do it, but I didn't know it was going to be this quick. And so look out for next week, Indiana and Nebraska, early kick, noon Eastern time, 11 a.m. Central time, and big noon kickoff. The Fox pregame show is going to be right here in Bloomington, and we cannot wait to be on center stage in the college football world. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers, man. Thank you so much for being here. We're having a blast. I am anyway. I hope that you are as well. You guys are showing up, showing out every single day. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for supporting the show. However you do that, okay? The best way to do it, like the video on YouTube, comment down below your thoughts on big noon kickoff coming to Bloomington for Indiana football versus Nebraska next week. And then subscribe to the channel. Do all of that. The subscribe button's right there. Hit that. Shows me you want to be here, you like the content, and that you want to see more. For all my audio listeners, be sure you follow us over there and turn on your notifications so you never miss a new episode, okay? Big episode on Kurtis Rourke coming up tomorrow, so you don't want to miss that. Why he is a top 5 quarterback in college football. We'll have that for you tomorrow. Plus, you never know what else is going to happen between now and then. So until then, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.